When you think about what really keeps a person strong and independent as they get older, one of the first things that comes to mind is how they handle their money. Not just how they earn it, spend it, or save it, but how they protect the privacy around it. The truth is, once you start sharing every detail of your financial situation with others, you're opening the door for opinions, assumptions, and even judgment that doesn't serve you. Some people will hear that you've done well for yourself, and suddenly they treat you differently, expecting you to pay for more, lend them money, or carry a weight that isn't yours to carry. Others will hear that you've struggled, and instead of encouragement, they start seeing you through the lens of limitation, as if your value is tied to the size of your bank account. That's why keeping financial boundaries is not just smart, it's necessary. There's also a big difference between sharing your financial details with someone you trust and broadcasting them to anyone who asks. The people who genuinely care about you don't need to know the numbers to respect the life you've built. But those who are only curious or looking for an opportunity will take that information and use it in ways you may not have intended. Maybe they compare themselves to you, maybe they gossip about it, or maybe they decide they're entitled to something that isn't theirs. And when you give away that kind of access, you're not just handing over facts, you're handing over power. Financial privacy protects not only your independence, but also the peace of your relationships. Another reason older women should be careful with what they share about money is because financial independence is directly tied to freedom. When people know too much about what you have or don't have, they start to calculate your choices for you. They give unsolicited advice, they judge your spending, they question your decisions, and they do it under the disguise of caring. But behind that is often control, and control is the opposite of freedom. You've worked too hard to let someone else dictate what you do with your resources. Whether you're living comfortably or stretching every dollar, the details belong to you, not to the world, and not to anyone who hasn't earned your trust. And here's the thing, not every conversation about money has to be avoided, but it should always be intentional. It's one thing to talk about lessons learned, to guide someone younger about being smart with their savings, or to share wisdom about what not to do. That's valuable because it empowers others without exposing yourself. But it's another thing entirely to give people the exact numbers, the intimate details, or the inside look at every financial move you've made. That doesn't empower anyone. It just strips you of the privacy you deserve. Sharing your story in a way that teaches is a strength, but oversharing in a way that invites opinions is a weakness. Think about how often money has been the cause of tension in friendships or family relationships. Borrowing, lending, comparing lifestyles, questioning who pays for what. Those are the kinds of things that break trust instead of building it. The moment you let too many people into your financial world, you're also letting in expectations, and expectations rarely leave quietly. They turn into resentment when they aren't met. They turn into gossip when someone feels slighted. They turn into distance when someone decides you're not doing enough for them. Keeping your finances private isn't selfish, it's protective because it shields both you and the relationships you value from unnecessary strain. Older women especially understand that financial independence is a form of strength that can't be underestimated. It's not just about having money, it's about having control over your choices, your lifestyle, and your future. And the more you share, the more you risk other people interfering with that control. The world doesn't need to know how much you have saved, how much you're investing, or what's in your retirement account. Those details are yours alone, and guarding them is one of the most powerful ways to maintain your dignity and peace of mind. You've earned the right to decide who gets to know what, and that right should never be given away freely. At the end of the day, privacy around your financial situation is about more than numbers. It's about boundaries. Boundaries that protect you from being taken advantage of, from being judged unfairly, and from being pulled into situations that don't align with your values. When you set those boundaries, you're making it clear that your worth isn't tied to money, your relationships aren't built on transactions, and your independence is non-negotiable. And the moment you understand that, you stop feeling the need to justify yourself to anyone because you realize that some things are stronger when kept private, and money is one of them. When it comes to health, there's something very personal and sacred about it, especially as you get older. People often feel tempted to share every detail of what they're going through, whether it's a diagnosis, a treatment, or even just the daily struggles of living with certain conditions. But the reality is, not everyone needs to know the ins and outs of your health journey because not everyone is capable of handling that information with care. Some people will respond with pity, which makes you feel smaller instead of stronger. Others will turn your situation into a topic of gossip, passing along details that were never theirs to share in the first place. And then there are those who will use your health as a way to measure you, as if your challenges define your ability, your worth, or your potential. That's why protecting the details of your health isn't about hiding. It's about choosing wisely who gets to share that space with you. Health is one of the most sensitive areas of life, and oversharing can sometimes take away the power you have in managing it. The moment you put your struggles out into the open for everyone to analyze, you allow people to project their opinions and fears onto you. They'll tell you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and how they think you should feel about it, even if they've never walked a mile in your shoes. And while advice can sometimes come from a good place, it often adds unnecessary noise to a situation that already requires clarity and strength. Your health is not a public debate. It's a deeply personal journey, and giving away too much of it can drain you emotionally in ways that slow down your healing instead of helping it. It's also important to remember that health information can shape the way others treat you, whether you want it to or not. If you share too much, some people start looking at you through the lens of fragility, assuming you can't handle certain responsibilities or challenges. They may mean well, but their lowered expectations can strip you of the respect and independence you deserve. On the other hand, others may downplay what you're going through, making it seem like it's not serious or that you're exaggerating. Both reactions miss the point because your health journey belongs to you and only you can truly understand its impact. The fewer details you give, the more control you maintain over how people see you and how you see yourself. Older women, in particular, often face the challenge of being stereotyped when it comes to health. People assume that age automatically means decline, and when you openly share every struggle, it can unintentionally reinforce those stereotypes. But your health does not define your strength, your wisdom, or your value. Protecting the details of your health is about guarding your identity from being reduced to symptoms, conditions, or labels. It's about reminding others and yourself that you are far more than what you may be facing physically. The privacy you keep is a form of self-respect because it draws a line between what the world sees and what you choose to reveal. That doesn't mean you shouldn't talk about your health at all, but it does mean you should be selective about when, where, and with whom you share. Sharing with a trusted doctor, a supportive friend, or a close family member is very different from announcing your challenges to everyone around you. When you share with the right people, you get the support, encouragement, and care that actually help you. But when you open up to just anyone, you invite opinions, judgment, or even unwanted comparisons that can weigh you down. And that extra weight is the last thing anyone needs when they're already carrying the responsibility of their own well-being. Oversharing health struggles can also make it harder to protect your mental space. Once information is out there, it's out there for good. People might bring it up at times you don't want to talk about it, ask questions that feel invasive, or make comments that remind you of something you were trying to put aside for a while. By keeping certain things private, you give yourself the freedom to focus on healing without being constantly reminded of your struggles. You allow your health to be part of your life, not the whole story of your life. And that balance is what helps you live fully, even with challenges in the background. At its core, choosing not to share every detail about your health is about control, and control is power. Power over your story, power over your privacy, and power over how others see you. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that not everyone deserves access to the most vulnerable parts of who you are. By setting that boundary, you protect yourself from judgment, gossip, pity, and misunderstanding, and instead keep your dignity, strength, and independence intact in a world that often forgets how valuable those things really are. Family conflict is something almost everyone experiences, but the difference lies in how it's handled and who gets to hear about it. When older women talk openly about every fight, every disagreement, or every tension within their family, it doesn't stay private for long. People may listen with curiosity, but the truth is, most are not listening to help. They're listening to repeat it, to add their own judgment, or to twist it into something that was never meant to leave the family in the first place. Once it's out there, it becomes gossip, and gossip has a way of spreading further and faster than you ever intended. That loss of control creates a situation where not only your reputation, but also the relationships within your family are left vulnerable. Conflicts within a family are already sensitive, and when they are exposed to outsiders, they almost always grow bigger than they should. Struggles that could have been resolved with communication, patience, and forgiveness suddenly turn into stories that others use for entertainment. And once outsiders know, they add their own perspective, their own opinions, and their own biases, which usually do nothing to heal the original problem. Instead, it builds walls where bridges should be. What could have been a private moment of growth or reconciliation becomes a lasting mark in the eyes of others, making it harder for family members to move forward and restore trust. When you keep family issues private, you're not just protecting yourself, you're protecting the dignity of the people you love. No matter how frustrated you may feel in the moment, there's a difference between working through it inside the family and airing it outside. Everyone has flaws, everyone makes mistakes, and when those moments are shared publicly, they no longer belong only to the people involved. They become part of someone else's story, someone else's judgment, and eventually someone else's version of the truth. That can create damage that lasts far longer than the original conflict because people will remember what was said about your family even when your family has already moved past it. Older women often carry the role of being the backbone of the family, the person others turn to for stability and wisdom. Sharing conflicts too openly can weaken that position, because it shifts the focus from being a problem solver to being a storyteller of drama. When people begin to see you as someone who reveals family issues, they lose trust not only in you, but in the family as a whole. The role of being the steady presence is best protected by keeping certain matters within the circle that needs to address them. It maintains respect, it fosters privacy, and it allows healing to happen in the right space without extra voices interfering. It's also worth remembering that family conflicts are temporary, but once they're shared, the words can't be taken back. Outsiders won't forget the details you told them, and they may look at your loved ones differently even after the issue has been resolved. A disagreement between siblings, a misunderstanding with children, or an argument with a partner can be painful, but they are still relationships worth guarding. Sharing those struggles too freely can turn temporary conflict into permanent division because people outside don't always see the whole picture. They only see the part you told them, and they make assumptions that stick. Protecting family privacy doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending they don't exist. It means handling them where they belong with the people directly involved. It means choosing resolution over reputation, healing over headlines, and understanding over exposure. When issues are handled in private, it allows for more honesty because family members can speak openly without worrying that their mistakes will be broadcasted. That safety makes it easier to rebuild trust because it keeps the matter personal and protects the family from outside interference that could make things worse. Keeping conflicts inside the family is ultimately about respect for yourself, for your loved ones, and for the relationships you want to preserve. It sends a message that while disagreements may happen, they don't define your family and they don't belong in the mouths of people who aren't part of it. Privacy gives space for growth, for forgiveness, and for moving forward without carrying the weight of outside judgment. It protects the unity of the family by keeping the focus where it belongs, on resolution, not on reputation, and that is what allows relationships to survive challenges and grow stronger over time. Insecurities are something every single person carries, no matter how confident they may appear on the outside. For older women, those insecurities can come from changes in appearance, shifting roles in family or career, or even from comparisons to the life they thought they would have versus the one they do. The mistake comes when those insecurities are shared with people who don't value you, because not everyone deserves access to your vulnerable places. The wrong person won't treat that openness with care. They'll treat it as an opportunity, and instead of lifting you up, they'll use it to quietly push you down. When you hand over your insecurities to the wrong audience, you're essentially giving them the script for how to hurt you. The person who seems like a casual friend may take what you confessed and use it in a moment of tension, reminding you of your weakness when it benefits them. Someone you thought was listening may turn around and repeat it to others, turning your private self-doubt into public discussion. Insecurities are heavy enough to carry on your own, and when you place them in the wrong hands, they become even heavier because you lose control over how they are used and interpreted. There is a fine line between being vulnerable and oversharing. Vulnerability, when shared with the right people, builds intimacy, trust, and connection. It reminds you that you are not alone, and it opens the door to support. But oversharing your insecurities with just anyone does the opposite. It exposes you to unnecessary judgment, gossip, or pity, none of which strengthen you. Older women know the difference between selective vulnerability and reckless openness, and that difference is what protects their dignity and confidence from being chipped away by careless words or harmful intentions. Another truth about insecurities is that they often come and go like passing clouds. What feels heavy today might not matter tomorrow, and what bothers you in a certain season of life might fade completely in another. But when you share every insecurity openly, you make those passing clouds permanent in the eyes of others. They will remember and repeat the things you said long after you've moved on, keeping alive a version of you that no longer exists. That's the danger of oversharing. People hold on to stories about you that you've already outgrown, and those stories can box you into an identity that doesn't reflect who you are anymore. Insecurities are also powerful because they reveal what matters most to you. Sharing them without boundaries can be like handing someone the blueprint of your values and fears. If someone knows you doubt your abilities, they can manipulate you into shrinking back. If they know you feel overlooked, they can use that to keep you silent. If they know you worry about being alone, they can take advantage of your desire to stay connected. Protecting those insecurities is not about pretending they don't exist. It's about not giving people ammunition to use them against you. At the same time, keeping your insecurities private doesn't mean ignoring them. It means choosing wisely where to place them. Maybe you work on them quietly, journaling or reflecting until you understand them better. Maybe you share them with a therapist, a lifelong friend, or someone who has proven through action that they can hold them safely. The power lies in choice, in deciding that your insecurities are not free for the taking. They are part of your inner world, and only those who respect that world should be allowed in. That boundary keeps your confidence steady even when your insecurities whisper loudly in the background. What makes protecting insecurities so important is that confidence is not about never having them. It's about knowing they don't define you. When you protect them, you stop letting other people shape how you see yourself. You create space to work on them privately while presenting yourself to the world with strength and dignity. And that doesn't just guard your reputation, it preserves your sense of self because no one else gets to tell the story of your insecurities for you. You are the one who decides how much to share, when to share it, and who deserves to hear it. And that kind of control is where real confidence comes from. Future plans are one of the most exciting and personal parts of anyone's life, but they are also some of the most fragile. When you share your plans too openly, you invite in a mix of opinions, doubts, and even resistance that can weaken your confidence before you even begin. Not everyone who hears your vision wants to see it succeed, and some will carry their own jealousy, negativity, or fear into your dream. Suddenly, what was once a clear direction starts to feel like a debate, and instead of moving forward, you find yourself second guessing and shrinking back. That's why protecting your plans is less about secrecy and more about giving your goals the space they need to grow strong before they face the weight of other people's voices. Every plan starts as an idea, and ideas are at their weakest in the beginning. They need nurturing, focus, and time to take shape. When you put them out into the world too soon, people can easily discourage you or talk you out of something you haven't even had the chance to fully develop. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's simply the way others project their own limitations onto you. They say it can't be done because they don't believe they could do it themselves. But if you take their doubts to heart, you end up abandoning something that might have worked beautifully for you. Protecting your plans is about keeping them safe from being crushed before they've had the chance to prove themselves. There is also power in moving quietly. When you hold your plans close, you give yourself the freedom to make mistakes, adjust, and try again without everyone watching or commenting. You get to fail in private, learn in private, and rise in private before showing the world the results. That privacy gives you resilience because you're not performing for anyone else, you're building for yourself. And when the time comes to reveal your success, people are left surprised and impressed, not with the words you spoke, but with the actions you took. Silence has a way of protecting your momentum in a way oversharing never can. Older women especially know the value of timing when it comes to life decisions. By this stage, there's a deep understanding that not everyone has earned the right to hear about your next steps. Whether it's a new job, a move, a financial choice, or even a personal goal, sharing too much exposes your future to unnecessary risks. Some will criticize because they don't understand, others will interfere because they want control, and some may even hope you fail so they can feel better about where they are. Holding your plans back isn't being secretive, it's being wise, because wisdom knows that not every voice deserves a seat at the table when you're designing your next chapter. There's also something empowering about surprising people with your results instead of your intentions. When you talk less and do more, you take away the chance for anyone to plant seeds of doubt in your path. People can argue with your words, but they can't argue with your results. And by waiting until your actions are visible, you keep the energy focused on building instead of defending. This is especially important because dreams are fragile, and once you start defending them to people who don't understand, you waste the energy that should be spent making them real. Keeping your future plans private also allows you to protect your confidence. Confidence doesn't always come from knowing every step ahead of you. It comes from trusting yourself enough to take the step without needing constant approval. When you keep your goals close, you lean more on your own belief and less on outside validation. That independence strengthens you because when the only voice you need to hear is your own, you can keep walking forward without hesitation. Privacy becomes a shield, not just for your plans, but for your mindset because it blocks out unnecessary noise and lets you focus on the vision that matters most to you. At its heart, protecting your future plans is about choosing peace over pressure. The fewer people who know, the fewer explanations you have to give, the fewer doubts you have to answer, and the fewer comparisons you have to fight. It gives you the freedom to move at your own pace, adjust when needed, and reveal your progress on your own terms. That control is powerful because it means your story unfolds by your design, not by the expectations or interference of others. By holding your plans close until they are ready, you give them the chance to grow strong, and you give yourself the chance to succeed without being weighed down by the opinions of the world around you.